p.m. Wednesday, May 19th, 2021. See you in the Wetlands meeting. First item on the agenda this evening is under new business is 15 Meadowcrest Circle, application for transfer of permit for residential site development of property. Is there anybody here on that tonight?
No, because that's just an automatic transfer. We did get a letter of permission from Mrs. Gearing, who's the current holder of the permit.
Uh-huh. So do we have to have a formal approval, Chris, or is it,
Yes, it's something that has to be acted on by you. Nobody else can transfer it except the agency.
okay. All right.
This is a transfer from whom to whom?
Mrs. Gearing to the buyer of the property, I assume, right, Chris?
Correct.
So, not a whole lot to discuss. We just transfer the permit from that was previously approved to the potential or maybe already purchaser of the property. Anyone want to talk about it at all, or do we need to talk about it? Well, if nobody has anything they want to say, we have a motion to approve the transfer of the permit.
I'll make go ahead. You got it.
I'll make the motion to approve transfer of the permit.
And I'll second it.
Yeah.
Okay, Dave moved, Jack seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Looks at 1, 2, 3, 4. Four approval. Wait a minute, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4. 4-0, that's approved. Moving right along. The next item on the agenda is Wisniewski. It's 1225 Johnson Road. It's a garage application to existing residents. Anybody here on that application tonight? Yes, Mr. Wisniewski.
Andrew's here,
Yes.
yeah.
Yep, I'm on. Good evening.
Hello. Do I just sort of describe what you're looking for? We have I think all of us probably have the application in front of us, so.
Yep, just looking to build an addition as a garage for the home, extending the home on the east side.
How far will that be from the pond?
It will be pretty much in the same footprint as where the current driveway is, because it so it's a circle driveway, but on the east side it goes down to the east side and to the end of the home. If I'm explaining that correctly, you should see it in the site map that I provided.
Right.
So the footprint of the garage is going to be all on already disturbed land?
Correct.
And I presume you're going to dig up what is an asphalt driveway and haul that away?
Correct.
And is that currently flat? Is there any fill or digging to be done?
It's flat because it's a driveway, right? So
Yeah.
I don't assume you got to dig much deeper than what is currently there for the footing and the whatever the 30 inches required for for the driveway itself. So it should probably be somewhat similar.
Looks like there's 2 lines there. Those garage. There's a proposed garage under and first floor addition. Oh, so you're going to have a garage and you're going to do house above it.
Well, it's to match the existing architecture of the home. So there, it's a ranch and it would just essentially be an extension of it. So it would be the same level and same structure design.
And what is, as Bob said, what is the distance from the structure to the pond? I can't read it if there's a number there. It looks like not very far.
No.
No, it's the driveway's right up, I do not have an exact measurement because
For the scale, it looks like around 10 feet or so.
Yeah, I was looking at
And it does slope down in that area, if I remember right. I live around the corner, so.
Correct.
Where are you going to channel the runoff from the addition? And how did it run off
Well,
permanently off the
It-
driveway?
It's shown in the site plan there currently. But obviously that can be, you know, designed to whatever the requirements that need to be met.
Well, I guess what Jack's asking is, since I'm assuming you'll have, gutters and downspouts, coming off the addition, where will they discharge to? Have you had an engineer look at this at all, or is this just something you drew?
No, it's a site surveyor, that drew this, that did all the measurements and has kind of helped walk me through this. But he pretty much said that there's a number of options, and it really depended on this panel's suggestions, whether, if needed, a dry well or some type of catch basin like that, or whatever essentially is allowed.
It shows a drain into the pond. Am I seeing it correctly? I can't.
That's what's currently there.
Does that drain footing drains, or does it drain the roof runoff, or both, or do you know?
I think it's just the footing. But I think, well, it's both. Correct, it's both.
Okay. And what about, on well, this is the west side of the house, isn't it? Yeah, okay. So what do you, from, at the ground level of what you're proposing to build, are there exits out of the garage, on the west side, or is it just garage doors on the front and nothing on the sides, or what's the plan?
Front and back. I wasn't planning on doing anything on the side, but the garage door to go in the front and a second door in the back.
Okay.
I
Normally I'm sorry, Chris, go
I
ahead.
was going to say,
Jack.
I'm going to ask it as a question. Do we need an engineering drawing so we know what we're going to build to and can evaluate it after built to make sure that it corresponds to what was approved
Yeah,
in the engineering
I
drawing?
was thinking the same thing, because all I see is like that shaded in area, and I don't know what we'd be approving right now.
That'd be, well, isn't that so what exactly, just for my knowledge and understanding, so that's the footprint and would be the foundation in that square, the shaded area. So, obviously from an engineering perspective, you would see the footprint and then the build out up, which would match the architecture of the home. So is there something specific that you're looking for that I can maybe look, try
Sure,
to
sure.
research and get back to you, or?
Yeah, well, well, I just because I'm sort of familiar with the property, I guess normally with this kind of thing, we probably would just delegate to Chris, but the problem is that, given the proximity to the pond, I would want something that somebody would confirm that, the, topography is not going to change, where the runoff is going to go. Is it going to be treated before it gets to the pond? What's going to prevent it from just, sheet flowing off the building along the slope of the bank of the pond and eroding that. Those are the types of things I'm a little bit concerned about. And, like I said, normally, this might be an easier one, but it's more complicated because it's right on the edge of the pond.
So I think the runoff, obviously you can do gutter work where you can diverge the water to go towards the middle of the home and then out. It doesn't have to come out there. It's just, I think that just can be built to spec and what the requirements. If you don't want any runoff there, then I can ensure that there's no gutters and there's no downspouts on that side, and that it wouldn't be running down there.
Well, I kind of think I mean, we could do one of two ways. We could either send it to our engineer and he'd come back with a recommendation, or send it to your engineer. You could talk to your engineer as far as, like a dry well or something to capture the runoff. So it'll go back into the groundwater, it'll end up in the pond eventually, but it'll go through the soil to get to the pond rather than just be dumping off into the pond. I
So what would you, so if I go, so there's two things, and I think this is really, are you looking for what I would actually build, and if that would be going to the engineer and show me how you would do the runoff, or, the gutter spouts and everything away and not close to the pond, and show you how that would work, where then a dry well is not required. If you'd want to see a dry well, then that would be a different plan, which then spouts can be put somewhere there and obviously directed to an area where that dry well would exist. I think both are an option. I think it's just, do you need to see gutter work and it being transferred towards the inside away from the house, and is that what you want to see?
I think we kind of need a calculation from your engineer as to the amount of runoff that would be created by the addition, because unlike the current situation where it probably just sheet flows into the pond, the water will be more concentrated at this point, and I think there should be something. It doesn't have to, it might not be dry well, might not be the right term. Might be some kind of drainage structure that has to be installed to capture the water, because you don't want to just eroding the bank of the pond because it's now a directed
Oh, I see what you're saying now. So it has nothing to do with it. You'd like to see something like a drain going along the side of the home that would essentially capture the water and divert it away.
Well, it really
from-
depends on what the engineer goes out and looks at and figures out the best way to discharge the water. Like today, I don't know what your driveway looks like. It probably slopes towards the street and the runoff runs into the street as opposed to
It's-
sheeting off to the side.
No, it slopes down from the road if I remember right. But
That is correct. If you're up towards the street, there's from the first 20 feet, it'll go towards the street. The rest goes down.
Down to the back of the house.
towards the pond, yeah.
I think we need either your engineer or our engineer to take a look at that, make a recommendation.
And
Specifications out.
and I think
How it should go.
the best thing is, have your engineer look at whether it's some kind of curtain drain into a dry well to capture the runoff from the the rest of the driveway. But I'm not an engineer, but we've been talking about this stuff for years. But have him come up with a way to treat the volume of water that's created by the addition, and then we could just run it by our engineer to sign off on it. I don't mean to make this more complicated than it needs to be, but it's a sensitive area, and recognizing, of course, there's a driveway there now, but the driveway's at the edge of the pond also. So I don't know, but Jack or Barry or Dave, if you have other comments, chime in.
No, I just think we need an engineer to be presiding,
Yeah, I agree.
especially since this is inside the review area.
Oh yeah, it's almost in the pond.
Yeah.
Is this pond silt up? Is there an inflow and an outflow in it? Is it a deep thing or is it a shallow thing? I don't know.
It's a shallow thing. I don't think it's been, I think it just has had a lot of leaves and everything, debris accumulated over the years. It's something that I've been thinking about getting to at some point, but it's shallow, and it, every couple of years or whatever, it essentially almost dries out.
Well, unless somebody else has some comments, I think if you can work with an engineer to come up how the water is to be treated, how much water we're dealing with, that would because I don't want our engineer to come up with something that's more expensive than your guy or lady can come up with, that would work as well. So it'd be better off if you came back with a proposal to deal with the water, that's generated by, the addition, so,
Okay,
okay.
no problem.
And just so you know, and we'll continue this till next month, and, if you have something ready for that meeting, then, we can deal with it appropriately at that point, so. And I don't know if people want to schedule a site visit to take a look at it in the meantime or afterwards, or you could just drive by because it's right, you could just see it from the road also as an option, so.
I would want to see the drawing, the engineered drawing first. And see
Okay,
what the
all right.
recommendations,
That'd be fine.
personally.
Anybody else have anything they want to say? Otherwise, we'll just continue this till next month.
No, I'm good. My concerns are addressed, yeah.
Barry, do you have any other questions?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. Thank you for coming, joining us tonight. And, talk to your engineer and we'll continue this next month. If you have something to present at that point, we'll deal with it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, next time on the agenda, 481 Amity Road, application for addition of a 10 by 18 shed on the property. And we have the applicant here. Welcome. You have the floor. Are you muted or?
Sorry.
No problem.
Thank you for having me. My husband and I are interested in placing a 10 by 18 prefab shed on the property. If you look at the map, the proposed shed is in the, I guess, southeast portion of our property. When the wetlands are full, meaning it's rained a lot and we have, the maximum amount in there, I would say that the proposed shed is about 40 to 50 feet from the start of that little kind of, it looks almost like a little inlet of wetlands. But that does typically dry up when there isn't much rain at all. And so then that water recedes back into more of like the larger portion of the wetlands. And then it would obviously be more than the 45 to 50 feet from it.
And what's the landscaping in that area now? Is it grass? Is it natural or?
So we do mow a portion of it, so that would be the grassy area, and then there is a little portion of it that has some like little weeds, nothing, nothing big. We could mow that, and there's some poison ivy. We also have just a little area with like a little bit of a wood pile there, so it's not clearing any, major trees or anything like that.
Chris, have you been out to the site?
Yes, I have. Well, I've driven by it, yeah.
Yeah. Is this something you're comfortable with delegation on, or?
Oh, certainly.
Okay. Anybody else have any other comments? So this is one of these prefab sheds that they just deliver on the back on a flatbed.
Yeah, and we would obviously put some gravel down, make sure everything was level, and then, pop the shed on.
Yeah, usually they talk about like 6 inches of gravel or something, but yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not going on a cement slab or anything.
No.
And you don't have to disturb very much backing the truck in off the driveway.
And it's pretty close to the driveway it would be a little bit on the grass area, but they wouldn't need to go anywhere near the wetlands area for that.
I don't have a problem delegating this.
I think delegation's appropriate, yeah.
Barry, any questions or anything?
No, that should be fine for Chris.
Okay. All right. Then we have a motion to delegate this matter to Chris. Just so you know, what this does is it shortcuts the process basically so that, Chris can issue a permit and we don't have to wait till next month to approve the application. So,
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I cut somebody off. Do we have a motion to approve the delegate the application?
I'll make the motion to delegate the application to Chris.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Jack moved, Barry seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, you're all set. you could talk to Chris next, later in the week, next week, whenever you're ready to go forward. So, okay,
Excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
you're welcome. Have a good evening.
You too.
Yep. Okay. Moving right along. I'm sorry. Somebody have something they want to say? So next item on the agenda is the Wolf Tree Drive matters. They weren't ready to proceed yet. Oh, Mr. Esposito, are you here or? Oh, no, okay.
I don't
No,
see.
I saw a name that I didn't recognize. Yeah, so basically they're continuing with their survey work. You probably saw the email from Bernie Pellegrino that they were requesting that it be moved to next, continue till next month, and that's what we'll do.
How many
So
times has this been continued?
Fortunately, due to the pandemic, we don't have time limits. All right.
Okay. Bernie must know that, yeah.
Yes, yeah. It's well, and John Paul Garcia is doing the survey work for him. So, moving right along. I'm sorry, did I cut somebody else off? No. Okay. Next time on the agenda, Mr. Trey, 22 Rimmon Road. I see you're here, so if you want to update us on what's going on.
Yeah, thank you very much. Christine came out, was it last week, Chris?
Yes, it was.
And we reviewed over the site map, the state of the progress that we've made and where we wish to make some plantings once we clear out some of the debris that's there from the first stage of the clear out that we were doing. And so we have now a number of fallen or cut down trees that were dead or dying. And we have a bunch of bushes, of barberry bushes and other prickly rose type of things that need to be removed, some poison ivy and that sort of thing. And we had reviewed with Christine the kind of plants that we might be available for us and where we might be able to get them, and hope that we can proceed with the removal of the debris that's there, and then continue with the plantings as we discussed with Chris.
So when we went out there, there's some invasive species that are there. There's Japanese barberry, there's multiflora rose. So the intent is to remove that so we can get the invasives out of there. We're not going to increase the lawn, but we're going to do some plantings in there, and then some of the chippings that would be done from the wood, the dead stuff that's there would be layered in. So the lawn isn't going to extend any further than it currently is. But the invasives would be removed, and then appropriate plantings would be put in that can have wet feet. And there may be some more ground cover put in, such as Pachysandra or myrtle or something like that, but the grass line will not be extended at all.
Do we have an application yet for this?
We've had an application, yes.
Pardon me?
We've had one, yes.
Okay.
And the email that we got shows a general location of the new plantings, correct?
Correct.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't looking to overcomplicate this, and for my purposes, that looks fine.
I mean, from our perspective, any invasives that we can get out anywhere are, it's a good thing.
True. Anybody have any questions, comments?
No, it sounds like Chris is on top of it. And
Yeah.
so what do we need to do we need to approve this? Do we need to
Yeah, it's an
have a
application.
motion, or do we?
Yeah, we
turn
need
around.
to, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, is this something we delegate to Chris or?
Well, it's
Cool.
in the wetlands, so we have to act on it.
Okay.
But I think the email plan, the May 11th email that shows the, general location of the plantings. My thought is that we approve the application um, as amended by this map, and just have an additional provision where Chris will supervise any changes that are needed based on site conditions. And then we just go forward with that.
Works for me.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion to that effect, if Chris could understand what I said?
I think I did.
Sure, I'll make the motion to
Okay,
go ahead with it per the email attachment and with Chris supervising it.
and do we have a
I'll
second?
sec-
Okay, Dave, thanks.
Yeah.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions? Okay, that's all set. Thank you, Mr. Trey.
Great.
Okay, moving along. Oh, okay, 170 Center Road. Chris, I know you went out there, so if you want to update everybody.
Yeah, I finally got to send some pictures to you, but you're in the middle of a meeting, so I don't know if you can see them. They've already planted on the inner part where they had to redo the septic system, some arborvitae, which I believe are the kind that deer don't like to eat. And then they've staked in the area, which has not been graded or anything, where there's, I believe I counted 10 stakes where they're gonna be planting trees. This area has not been graded, and when I was out there today, there's already some of the normal brush vegetation starting to come back in there. So I think Mr. Estra is on the line.
Yes, I'm on.
Hi. I don't honestly know if it would be of any benefit to try to plant any other bushes that are closer to this waterway. From what I can tell, looking at it, it's a, it's a channel. It's something that carries water. But it doesn't look like there's particularly any wetland soils associated with it. And if I recall the subdivision map correctly, it was more the channel itself. And Mark, do you know is it trees that are gonna get planted where those stakes are?
That's correct. I believe they're red maples that
Okay.
he's planning to put up over there.
Okay, so if it's red maple, then I don't believe that any other bushes should need to get planted next to the channel because the red maples are gonna grow up. You've got this natural seed cover and whatnot that's already germinated underneath and will come back on its own. So I think with the plantings, we should be okay.
Chris, do you think we should act upon this, sort of delegating it to you to finalize with them, or should we get a more specific plan showing what's to be planted where?
Typically, when we've had plantings like this done, you've made a provision that we want to ensure that they take and that they grow. So typically you bonded it, in some form. I don't think it's a difficult thing to, have marked out in or on a site map where these 10 trees are. I did try to take some pictures, but the stakes are skinny and they don't show up too well. But I think, what I would suggest that you do is that you have some kind of bond amount so that I can go back and make sure, in a year, 2 years, whatever you decide, that these trees have actually taken and are growing. Because if they haven't, if some of them have died, then they need to get replaced.
Mr. Estra, do you think that the the number of trees that are proposed to be planted is about equal to what was there before, or were there a lot more trees there before?
That's really difficult to tell. It's on the back side of my property, and
Oh.
to tell you the truth, I never walked back there. The only thing I could tell is from the remnants of trees that were cut off, or, from the roots that were dug up. It looks approximately the same. And I think what Mr. Reether's doing is adequate, in my opinion. It's on the far side of my property. My concern was, I thought that was wetlands because I saw like skunk cabbage growing up in that area. And further downstream, I saw skunk cabbage. And that always, to me, has been a indication that it's usually wetlands. But if you say it's not, it's not. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the subdivision map that showed the wetlands didn't flag an area on the side of this drainage way. And there is some skunk cabbage there, but I think it's, it's not a huge amount that you would normally see in a wetland per se. There's some isolated skunk cabbage there, so based on the soil survey that was on the subdivision plan, I think that the corridor is truly the wetland. And I think that the spacing that's shown there out in the field where the trees are will allow them to grow and to thrive. They're, spaced apart so that they shouldn't crowd each other. So we should have,
Yeah, they're at least 15
trees
feet
back.
apart,
Yeah,
15 to 20, I would say.
yeah.
Chris, do you think we can use your pictures as the basis for an approval, so we have a plan of what's to be planted there, or are they not sufficiently detailed?
I
Ellen
can
Bell.
go out again. Mr. Reether's been very generous in allowing me to go to the site, so I'm sure I can go back out again and concentrate on taking pictures so that it's clear where these are. And then I can go back once they've been planted and take pictures of them then.
I think he was planning on putting them in the next few days or so, so it might be better to take pictures after they're in.
Probably so. So,
Okay.
then we document exactly how many there were. And then I'll just go back in a year and make sure that they're growing.
Well, I think it's, given the season, it's probably better to get them planted now rather than bump this a month,
Right. Because already the stream or that water course isn't running, so we've been in a kind of a mild drought at the moment, so it doesn't surprise me that it's not running at the moment.
Mr. Reether and I have said that we'd share in making sure they were watered periodically. I'll get a hose out there and, at least once or twice a week, I'll get out there. And I know he said he'll do the same.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I mean, Chris, do you think we need a bond? I hate to add more expense to this, but I don't know.
I think Mr. Reether's good for it. I don't think it's gonna be an issue.
All right, then.
My
Based on your,
opinion.
based on your opinion, I guess we will have a bond. What do you think? I don't know. How much those trees cost? I don't even know. Are we talking about like $100 a tree or?
It's probably more than that.
Okay.
I don't know. I think he said he was going to do 1.5 inch or so caliber. So I have no idea. I know that stuff's expensive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I bet you would. I wouldn't be surprised if they're $200 a tree.
Okay, well, that would make it a $2,000 bond, so.
As I said, I don't think it's necessary to bond. I think he's going to do it, but that's your call.
Yeah. What's everybody else?
It's not a question of him doing it, it's a question of ensuring that they thrive and grow.
I think what Chris says has a lot of validity. I mean, to protect Mr. Escher's interests over the next few years, so.
Well, then say it's a $100 tree. I don't want to be responsible for driving his bond up.
I think, it would be good to be able to trust everybody, but how about just a kind of a small bond, like you suggested, $1,000, it just ensures that the stuff gets done and paid attention to, and, 18 months, 2 years, it's released.
Yeah, I know. I think that makes sense, and that amount, it shouldn't be offensive.
Especially since this was a cease and desist. And
Yeah.
You know,
All right,
people,
then, unless anybody else has any other comments, if we have a motion to approve the application with the plantings supervised by Chris.
This isn't an application, this is your order, so you're amending the order to.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay, so we didn't get an application on this. I'm sorry. Yeah, so, we'll amend the order, the cease and restore order to, provide for the installation of, in addition to what has already been done, 10 additional red maples with a bond of $1,000 to ensure that they survive for up to, for the first 2 years, after which it can be released. Does that capture what everybody's concerned about?
good by me.
Dave, do you have anything else?
No, that'd be fine.
Hey, Barry?
yes, if that's okay with Mr. Estrus, if he
It
feels
is
that's-
fine with me.
Okay.
Dr. Josephs, nice seeing you again.
So do we have a motion to amend the cease and restore order to provide for what we just said?
I'll make the motion to amend the cease and desist order as per just the current comments.
I'll second that.
Okay, Barry seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. 4-0, that's approved. Thank you, Mr. Restra. We appreciate your help.
Thank you very much. Have a good night, gentlemen.
Yeah, have a good evening. Take care.
Chris?
Okay, moving on. Enforcement officer report. Chris, what do we need to know about?
Well, there's two things. I did forward you, an email regarding the Amity Fields, the turf fields. And I did pose the question to town council, as to whether or not it was something that the commission should respond to or could respond to. He was supposed to send me an email. He did call me, but he did have the Board of Selectmen meeting tonight, so I'm not surprised he didn't send me an email. But if you can accept my word for it, what he said was that the matter has been closed and that there is no further discussion that the agency can have or take action-wise regarding this at this point.
That was from Jerry.
That was
Did you
from
say?
Jerry, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we also discussed it in the Board of Selectmen, and that's what he says. It's not our issue to discuss any further.
It certainly works for me.
Of course, I'm recused on that, so if there's no further discussion, then we can move on to whatever else you have to talk about, Chris.
okay. The other issue that's come up is regarding 91 Forest Glen Drive. I did forward it to you. First, I sent you an email because I wasn't sure if the person who had contacted me was going to be able to send an email, but then she did, so I also forwarded that to you. This is the owners of the property at 95 Forest Glen Drive. And as the email shows you that you've received, there is a concern regarding potential impacts from the blasting that occurred or is still occurring, regarding preparing the area for the foundation for the house. I did go out to the site this afternoon. I'd been out there before to check the sediment and erosion controls, which are, instead of hay bales or silt fence, is those wattles that we've talked about, which are tubes that are laid down. And all of the blasting which has occurred upslope from there. It started apparently closest towards the wetlands, which are to the west of the site, and the blasting has been going upslope away from there. The blasters stated that they've been doing 3 separate blasts per day of a couple of, or however many charges that they've laid. When I was out there, quite honestly, there was one piece of stone that was probably at least 2 feet in diameter that had gone over the wattles that were in place. But that was it. I didn't see anything else that had flown anywhere. I did forward to you, because I honestly Googled, impacts of, pardon the pun, blasting on wetlands. And I didn't come up with much. Initially, I did forward you one link regarding what I found on that. But then I did find that other DEEP document, which I sent to you secondly. But that particular document talks about significant blasting, such as quarries or roads and things like that. But I leave it to the commission to review the email that was received and to decide what, if any, other action you want to take or want me to take.
Well, after you sent that email, I also found a little bit of time to Google the issue and, also came up with what you came up with as far as, the most discussion out there was about quarry activities. I mean, none of the construction that we approved there was in the wetlands area itself. And I couldn't find anything that, some towns like North Haven, for instance, had a very extensive regulation as far as in process for, as far as pre-blast surveys, notices to neighbors. They had a right to request pre-blast surveys and post-blast surveys. But I don't, and that's outside our jurisdiction. We have a statutory jurisdiction, so it's not like we can go beyond it. And then the other thing I thought of is that, I remembered a situation where I had a client who was having trouble with its well, so they blasted down the well in order to open up fissures to get more water. So I'm not sure that if we're not approving some activity in the wetland area, I'm not sure what the effect blasting would have on the wetlands. So anyway, that's what it's worth. Those are my thoughts. So, but everybody else can chime in.
Especially since, I mean, it's relatively to a quarry, it's small-ish, right?
It's not a quarry, it's a house.
Yeah,
It's,
it's a house, so.
Yeah.
I mean, the resident had checked with the fire marshal, who is the person who issues blasting permits under state statute. I did not speak to Joe Capucci myself today, but he said that all he does is supervise when the charge is going to go off, but not where the charge is going in terms of whether it's in a wetland directly or anything. And obviously you approved a permit based on what you approved a permit on. The closest that I could measure on the site plan from one corner of the house was 65 feet to the nearest, like little projection of a wetland. And the rest of the house was 85 feet away or more.
Well, and plus in this situation, part of the, positive aspects of that application was that they were going to leave a lot of the site in natural conditions. So that distance to the wetlands, most of that, except for the walking trails, is going to be left in natural state. So I don't know. I don't know that we really need to do anything more on it, to be honest with you. I mean, we could send the issue to Jerry and him send the letter or whatever, but I don't think as a commission, we have jurisdiction over that issue at this point. So,
Would it be appropriate or better to have Jerry send the letter relative to that? I mean, that seems like kind of a good thing to do.
yeah, I think they
Makes sense.
deserve some kind of response, and I'd rather have Jerry do it than us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Jerry's letter would be that we just don't have jurisdiction over blasting if it's not a wetlands issue.
I think Jerry can say that.
Yeah.
And nothing they were doing violated the wetlands permit as far as I know, so.
Yeah, right. Okay. No, I'm fine with you on that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
Chris, do you want to pass that along to Jerry to?
Yeah, I will definitely do that. And I have to say that when I was out there, because I'd been out there a week and a half ago to look at the wattles that had been put down, knowing that the site had been blasted, from what I can tell, it's loosened underground where they're going to be putting the foundation. But for all intents and purposes, looking at the site, it's not like all of a sudden the site changed dramatically, because it, it must be mainly subterranean that, is getting broken apart. The contract, the gentleman who was doing the exploding, or whatever you want to call it, did say that it was interesting that from what they've seen, that where the charges have gone, the charges have, blasted where they need to for the foundation, but then the material that's in the ground is such that there aren't any fractures in the other stone that's next to it where they haven't laid the charges.
Hmm.
So I just passed that along as something I was told, and
Hmm.
whatnot. But anyway, so I will contact Jerry for you. But I
Okay.
wanted to make sure that, you, as I represented to the concerned citizen, resident, that I asked her to put it in her own words so that I would not misconstrue to you what her concerns were.
Well, that was a good way to handle it. So, all right. Anything else on enforcement, Chris?
No, that's about it for now.
Quite a bit of building going on in town, it seems.
We have, and actually, a number of years back, you approved 3 lots over on Northrop, and there's been 1 application received regarding one of those lots, the lots that's sandwiched in the middle that doesn't have any wetlands on it or in proximity to it. So right now, I believe we have 8 houses either under construction or shortly to be under construction, which is a lot. We haven't done that many in a long time.
All right. Mm-hmm. Everybody's trying to get in before the lumber prices go even higher, probably maybe.
I guess,
Wow,
yeah.
I know, huh?
At some point soon, you should be seeing an application for the triangular parcel that's behind the gas station down on Litchfield Turnpike. That was purchased, as well as the gas station piece. And so the backside on the other side of the West River closest to West Rock is going to be developed residentially. The last I knew, it was going to be a road with some duplexes on it. So that will be coming into you at some point.
Okay. No site visits. There weren't any, I didn't see any minutes in my
didn't
package.
get to give you any
Are we just gonna deal with those next month, Chris?
Deal with them next month. It's been a little interesting lately.
I'm sure
Okay.
you've been busy. Wetlands may have been quiet, but other things were busy and taking up your time, I guess. Huh?
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you for your understanding.
No problem. Does anybody else have anything we need? Anything? Well, Chris, do we have anything else we have to talk about? I don't have anything left on my list.
No, I don't believe so. I will let you know if we're going to be opening up for meetings or whatnot, so that maybe you'll be getting to see each other in person again. So as soon as I know, I will let you know.
Great.
That would be nice. All right then. Unless does anybody else have anything else we need to talk about?
I do not.
No,
All right.
All right then. It's 8:20. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion. Oh, go ahead, Barry.
Barry
Yes,
made the
I'll-
motion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, who made it? Who seconded it? I've
Barry first did it and Jack seconded it.
Okay.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions. Okay, we're done. 8:20. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next month.
Okay, so everybody
Yeah,
take
thanks,
care.
Whitey. Take care.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.